Boost online. Rogue Restorer Hive detected. Allies are acquiring the boost. Rogue Explosive Seeker Mine detected. The boost has been taken by allies. An agent needs assistance. Rogue Stinger Hive detected. Boost about to come online. Rogue Explosive Seeker Mine detected. Boost online. Allies have acquired the boost. Agent down. Detected. Boost now active.
What's going on YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 build video. Now this is going to be my Backfire Ridgeway build. This actually has max hazard so that the backfire does not hurt yourself, and I've also gotten the backfire up to 300 critical hit damage. Shout out to the DoD Disciples of Doom, but let's actually look at this because this is pretty sick. So let's just jump straight to the stats sheet. So this is my backfire, and it has 49.2% crit chance and 300.1% crit damage. That is with 4 reds for my core attributes and 2 blues. So I do have 1.1 million armor. You did see in that gameplay that I was able to face tank quite a bit of people, and you need to be mindful whenever I'm doing those gameplay videos to look at those damage numbers, because those damage numbers in PvP is where it really matters. So just be mindful of that, because whenever you're making these kind of builds, you want to test and compare numbers with other builds to make sure that you are on the right track. But anyways, this is my Backfire Hazard build with the Ridgeway's Pride chest piece. This thing is pretty sick. We have amplified damage, we have bleed damage, we have full bleed resistance, so it doesn't hurt you. We have a whole bunch of crit. It's pretty much a no-brainer. It's a lot of fun to use. Now, starting with the specialization. I'm using the Technician specialization for a couple reasons, but the main ones is it gives me 1 skill tier, and it also gives me that skill power. And for PvP, I want that extra skill tier and skill power to just help my skills give me a little bit of an edge over whoever it is I'm playing. A lot of people would rather go with different specializations for either, more armor or, what have you. But for this, having the skill power involved really helps with the bleed because you're doing more than just shooting them to make them bleed. You're actually shooting them using your skills and everything else. Now, going back to the stats, you can look at the hazard. Now, the hazard overall is only at 67.6. However, with my mods that I have on the build, it bumps me up to 96.1. And as long as you're over 96, the bleed will not affect you. You will not get a red screen, none of that. So I could sit here and shoot it all day and it will not hurt me at all. So you're able to build up those crit damage stacks and sustain them without worried about them hurting you, if that makes any sense. Now, going back to the build breakdown. So I'm using Technician, reason being is it helps with the skills immensely. My Seeker Mine that I use is at 272,000 PvP damage, and that's before the PvP bleed. So I also have over 10,000 bleed damage as well. And not only that, but I pair it up with the Stinger Hive, and this one has a PvP damage just under 95,000, and again has over 10,000 PvP bleed damage. So that's quite a bit of damage just coming from my skills. And the way I have this build set up is I can tank a little bit, but I don't have to worry about any status effects, and I can put them on status effects and burn them down quicker because I also have that amplified damage from the Eclipse Protocol backpack. But alright, there's your specialization. Let's go to the weapons. My primary is the Backfire SMG. This is the new exotic SMG that came out in Title Update 11 and Season 3. So a lot of you, if not all of you, should have this weapon. If not, it should be fairly easy to find one of your friends that already has this. Go ahead and farm for SMGs in targeted loot, and then you should be good to go, have them drop it for you. But this one, 103.6k total damage. That's with 850 RPMs and a 55 round magazine. Now I do have max SMG damage, but I only have 20% crit chance and 11.5 mag size, so it's not quite god rolled. Now the reason we are using this is for the talent payment in kind. Now pay attention to this talent because this is how I get up to that 300% crit damage. Now payment in kind. It says dealing damage to enemies will add a stack of crit damage, and this will stack up to 200 times. It'll last for 10 seconds, and then upon reload it'll apply a bleed, but we are running hazard protection and over 96% bleed resistance, so you can actually delete that last part out of this talent because you are not going to apply a bleed. So that's how you get 200 crit damage stacks. So running this normally, it'll show 100% crit damage, and then when you get all the stacks from your backfire, it'll go up to this 300%. Now my secondary is the FAMAS. This is a god rolled FAMAS with damage to armor and sadist. Boy oh boy does this thing effing hit. I love this weapon. I'm so happy I got a god rolled one. I'm sorry if some of you don't have one, but man, am I happy. I'm a huge FAMAS fan, and having this weapon to where I can just switch out the talent to whatever build I want, it's glorious. I'm actually going to have my own FAMAS build coming up after this one, actually. But anyways, this one's at 81.8 total damage, and you have Sadist, max AR damage, max health damage, and max damage to armor. And then my sidearm is a double barrel sawed-off. This one again with Sadist and 1.2 million total damage. So if you ever get into, close in quarters and you're caught reloading or something, you can always switch to your sidearm, hit them a couple times with this, and they will either back off or they'll die. Now, going over the build, I have 1.1 million armor and 302,000 health. My base damage for my backfire is 103.6k. So just remember that. I am running a blue attribute for the core, for my mask, and my knee pads. So I am running 4 reds. You could easily, mix and match how many reds and blues you want just based off of your own playstyle. If you want to go more tanky, go for it. I would actually insist that you go the opposite way and probably just run 1 blue, but then that might drop you to, maybe 900,000 armor, maybe 1 million. But going over this, I have 3 Eclipse Protocol, 1 Sokolov Concern, 1 Grupo Sombra, and the Ridgeway's Pride chess piece. Now, going to the mask, Eclipse Protocol. I am running 3 of these. So, the gear set bonus I get from running 2 is 15% status effects. For running 3 pieces, I get 15% skill haste and 30% hazard protection. And that's what you want. You want the hazard protection because you want that bleed resistance to mitigate the backfire talent. And the easiest way to do this while keeping your damage is running 3 Eclipse Protocol. Now, there's going to be a lot of you in chat that'll sit there and complain, talk about 511, Seska, and what have you, y'all gear. That's all cool and fun, but running it this way, I have damage on damage. I get the crit to where I'm already sitting at 300% crit damage. I have near 50% crit chance, and I have all that bleed resistance to save me from this. Now you have to add in the amplified damage from the backpack, and it kind of tips this upwards. Now the Backfire SMG is not, the best in slot SMG. I would still argue that the Lady Death is. With that being said, a lot of you like to run different weapons, so that's why I try to showcase them in different ways. So that's why I'm using the Backfire instead of the Lady Death. And there you have it. So back to the mask. For the attributes, max armor at 170k. It came with hazard protection at 9.1, and then the mod slot 9.8% bleed resistance. Go into the backpack. This is Eclipse Protocol backpack. I rolled on their weapon damage at 15%. It came with 8.5 hazard, and then I put on their bleed resistance again, this time at 9.4. But the backpack talent, this is how you're getting that amplified damage. The talent is called Symptom Aggravator. It amplifies all damage you deal to status affected targets by 30%. And that helps your skills and your weapon. So just remember that. That's why I'm using the Hive, the Seeker Mines, and the Backfire. Alright, going to the gloves, Sokolov Concern. Now the brand set bonus we get from this, 10% SMG damage. This one is God rolled. I have max weapon damage, max crit chance, and max crit damage. Going to the chest piece, obviously it can't be a Ridgeway build without the Ridgeway's Pride. This one has 15% weapon damage, 5% crit chance, and 11.1 crit damage. Now to get my bleed resistance up over that 96%, I had to put another bleed resistance mod on here, this time 9.3%. Now the talent is called Bleeding Edge. Shooting an enemy within 15 meters will apply a bleed to that target. It'll also give you armor per second, but that's only dependent on how many enemies are bleeding around you. So it's quite hard to keep that going in PvP, especially when you're only facing 3 or 4 players at once. But my recommendation, if you want that armor, to get them down on a knee and then do not hit them. That way that they keep bleeding and you keep getting that armor back. So there's that. Now the holster. This is the Grupo Sombra holster. Grupo Sombra, what we get from the brand set bonus, 15% crit damage. Now this one has max weapon damage, max crit damage, and 3.2% crit chance. And then finally, the knee pads. These are your Eclipse Protocol knee pads with max armor and max hazard protection. Pretty simple. Now, I know that all 3 of these Eclipse Protocol have hazard protection as the attribute, and I'm letting you guys know right now, these are hard to find. So, may the RNG gods be with you, but it took me forever to find some decent ones, I promise. Now the skills, like I showed you earlier, I'm running the Explosive Seeker Mine, which applies a bleed, and the Stinger Hive, which also applies a bleed. Finishing off with the stat sheet. So here is the normal Backfire stats. We are at 34,000 PvP weapon damage with 49.2 crit chance and 100.1 crit damage. Like I showed you earlier, once you get your stacks up, it'll go up to 300%. Now I do have 55.2% headshot damage, and well, that's about it. Going to the offensive tab, 70% all weapon damage bonus with 25% SMG damage bonus. So every time I use the Backfire, I get 95% damage bonus total. Pretty good. Going down to the defensive tab, 1.1 million armor, about on the dot. 302,000 health, 10% explosive resistance, and 67.6 hazard protection. Remember, I'm only running the 3 Eclipse Protocol. Now, utilizing those mods, I bumped it up to 96.1 for the bleed resistance, and that way it completely negates all the bleed from the Backfire. So now that I've done the build, here's one last look at it. This is your Backfire Ridgeway build with hazard protection and crit. And let's go hit the firing range for a second. I'll show you guys how easy it is to get up to 300. So it says you have to stack up to 200 times. Having a 55 round or 56 round magazine means you have to at least shoot just about 4 magazines. Alright, here we go. Easiest way to show this is to put on Invulnerable Elite, and then 5 or 10 meters is good enough. But as you are shooting the Backfire, you will see the counter right there next to my shoulder is going up. That way you can see what your stacks are for your Backfire. So during PvP, PvE, whatever it is, you can see the stacks going up right there. So I'm at 166. And there you go, I'm at 200. Go back to my stats. Oh, and it already went away. Interesting. So I'm still at the 200 stacks. I like how it was bugged for the beginning of the video, and then I can't show you at the end of the video. Alright, but you did see it. 301% crit damage. For some reason, this firing range is not wanting me to show you. Might be, let's see. Oh yeah, they just broke that for the firing range. Alright. There we go. Alright, it'll work this time. So I forgot that the firing range is currently bugged. So, because you could see the 300% crit damage earlier, without the buff even active, It's not even wanting to show me now that I actually had the buff active. So what I had to do is I had to leave the firing range and switch out my loadouts, but it fixed it, and here we go right here. So boom, I'm at 200 stacks, and there you go, 301% crit damage. But just remember, right now the firing range is bugged. So for example, if I want to switch loadouts, I can't because it says I'm in combat. So easy fix is just to go outside this door right here, boom, and then you can switch it over and switch it back. So there you go. I'm Kamikazevondoom. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, found it helpful in any way, shape, or form. If so, make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for the support, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.